Why make regular, boring old shirt pockets when we could have this here fun, all-seeing eye pocket? Pant pockets. I mean, can we get a little more inspired? We can. We can get inspired by these here Tre Eleganza slash pockets. And how about them? No. Let me not ruin the last surprise. Let's instead learn how to be more creative with our sewing projects. My name is Cornelius Quiring. That's my logo. That's my word mark. And Cornelius.ooh is my website, where you can see everything I have got going on. Editing Corn, can you show us a quick photo of a double welt pocket? Thank you. And this is a very useful pocket, yes, but just a boring rectangle can lack the inspiration that we need sometimes. What if instead we made it a bit of an oval? Bit of a football shape, perhaps? Football, okay. And then before I get ahead of myself here, Tutorial Corn, why don't you give the folks a lovely refresher of the welt pocket and how we would ovalize it? I've got my fabric that I'm going to be putting the pocket into, and then I have my two flaps that make up the double welt. I stitch them both down, push back these little flappy bits so that I can trim this little inwards arrow shape. Flip it all around to the other side. Press it all nice and flat. Sprinkle a little TV magic on there, and well, I've got myself a double welt pocket. On the back, I just attach a lining to make the bag of the pocket, and this thing is fully functional. Now, with the oval version, I'm going to do the exact same thing, just flip the order of a few of the steps. I'm going to make the hole or opening first, and then do the two lippy bits second. This is going to be my final shape. I'm going to trim out some of the excess fabric on the inside here, and then snip a series of notches right up until the line. Press them open to sit nice and flat. I also pressed my lippy things in half while I was at it, so I can go ahead and align those on the back here, sew them on around the outside, and voila! Who's ready to pucker up to some fun double welt pockets? That's you, Creative Corn. Time to take over. Don't we just look eerily similar? Got myself a good old-fashioned button-up shirt here, but it's a little boring, you know? So what if I were to say, put a little pocket on here and, well, to take things one step further, well, that's a lot of real estate that could use some pizzazz. Like these here bullseyes, eh? Fold them in half and, well, the more clever of you may see where I'm going with this. And then the zigzag stitch around the outside gives it a cool pop art kind of look, just helps all the colors really stand out, and, you know, it never harms to cover up some shoddy work. Not that I would ever do that. And ta-da! Look at that, an eye for a pocket. These little eyebrows here, although beautiful, are also a clever solution to keep the top of the pocket sitting nice and flat and straight upwards. Council of Corns, do we admit that this gap here was an accident, or pretend like it was intentional just to put our hands in easier? Wonderful. Hi, Therapist Corn here. What if instead we consider walking away, having a few deep breaths, recentering ourselves, rethinking our process, and then trying again at the end of the video? Regular pockets can get a little stale and boring, so let's learn how to make these gorgeous slash pocket pants, which I might add look even better when you make them for real. Best of all, we can make these with just one measurement, but I'm saving that juicy little detail for a little later. Let's zoom in on this pocket here for a second, and you see how there's this one extra seam running down the middle of the leg panel here? It's that splitting open that creates the potential for creativity with the pockets. What we're doing in its simplest form is taking a really long strip of fabric and folding it back on itself and then back down again. And this is what creates the bag of our pocket. And then to deal with the open sides here, I simply sew the other half of the front leg panel on the one side. Repeat with the back leg panel. And voila, we've got ourselves a fun variation on a traditional pocket. Now that we understand how the pockets work, we can start to have a little bit of fun with them. Like maybe we play with the shape here a little bit. We could even add a little detailing, like some rickrack along here before we sew on the two panels on each side. If you're like me, well then you can always add a burst of joy in the form of a bright, colorful pattern in the bag of the pocket. One unintended benefit of having this additional seam here is that it became a great way just to taper them in a little bit at the top here to better fit my friend's figure. Now I'm finally going to fulfill my promise from earlier and explain how we can make these with just one measurement. I made these pants using the Lüderlo system. You simply take your hip measurement using this ruler that comes as a part of the system. Find your measurement on the white bit here that comes at the end of the ruler. Pop in the pin and then pop that in the center of the cross on each one of these scaled down pattern pieces. Work my way around in a circle until I meet up with a line that has a number on it. In this case, 38. And then mark 38 on the measuring tape. Continue until I've done this with all the markings. Connect the dots. Add some seam allowance. And voila, I've got my pattern piece. And this is just one of the over 280 patterns that come as a part of the Lüderlo system. If this sounds interesting to you, click the link down in the description or head on over to this URL right here. And don't forget to use my coupon code CORN to save an extra 10% off your entire order. That's a good deal. And thank you, Lüderlo System, for sponsoring this video. Creative Corn here once again, and I've let far too many of you other corns participate in my video here and run amok. I've decided we're returning back to the eye pocket project. I'm losing my words just through my frustrations. There's a couple things that happened along the way that I think contributed to my less than ideal final eye pocket here. The first one being that I just layered the fabrics on top of each other. So in the middle here, we've got 6 layers after the fold, combined with the very tight zigzag stitches, making things just too chunky here, making for a rounded fold, and that is partly what's causing it to pull inwards. So what I'm doing instead is starting with a layer of fusible interfacing. I then have the fabric that makes up the white of the eye, and trimmed out the eye itself, I have my colorful bit of the eye, and then the black that goes in the center. I have, however, cut each layer a couple millimeters smaller than necessary for a pinch of overlap where the zigzag stitches around the outside are going to go. Stick that all together with a nice little pressing. Okay, perfect. Now I zigzag stitch around the outside just like I did last time. I'm removing this stabilizer fabric off the back because it has served its purpose. Next, anytime anything has a hole in it, it's less structurally sound. And so, as a result, the shirt is sort of pulling open like this. And there's nothing I can really do about that. So trying to get these two pieces perfectly bumped up against each other is a bit of a fool's errand. Instead, I'm going to do it like a single welt pocket where I have one flat layer in the back and then the second one, which is folded, the single welt, goes underneath like so. That way, even if things aren't perfectly aligned, there's still an eyeball in the back and one singular tab that makes it easier to put my hands in. I added some interfacing on the inside here just to make the sewing easier again. Sew in the bottom welt first. Align the layer that's going behind it. Oh, it's looking better already. A whole lot of zigzagging once again. And finally, I put a bag on the back. And big reveal time. Dun, 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 dun. A new all-seeing eye pocket that actually functions like a pocket. Now, Perfectionist Corn caught a quick glimpse of it and he immediately pointed out that there's a little bit of a weird divot here and doesn't align as well as could be on these parts. Naturally, I let that send me down a spiral of questioning everything I do until Rational Corn stepped in and pointed out that we had, in fact, greatly improved the process and technique, so there's a win. But not only that, the top stitching of black around the outsides is so much cleaner this time, and there's no puckering by the eyelashes. Editing Corn, let's add some learning lessons at the end of the video here, just to tie it all up in a nice, neat bow. And I think I've come up with two of them. The first one being that in order to be more creative with our sewing projects, we don't need to scheme up any wild ideas. Instead, we can take the ordinary things on our garments that we already make and then think about how we can reimagine them, and voila, creativity. And lesson number 2 is strictly for me. And that's to remind myself that I too am a mere mortal who makes mistakes. Just because I create educational sewing videos doesn't mean I can be perfect. And I need to trust that you wonderful viewer will show up to watch the next video anyways. Oof, even this take, not perfect. Oh, melts my heart how much progress we've made in one video. Fantastic. And yet, the amount there's still to do. Bring all the other corns to next week's session, yeah? And now, I pass the talking scissors over to you. Do share. What kind of creative ideas have you been implementing into your sewing projects? Or perhaps you have some idea you just haven't gotten around to. I'd love to hear about that as well. Let's inspire each other down in the comments. Once again, we find ourselves at the end of the video. That must mean you really enjoy what I'm doing here enough to perhaps check out the Corn Cob Club. What's the Corn Cob Club, you ask? Well, it's my exclusive community for folks who want to support what I'm doing here, vital in order for me to continue. So a massive thank you to everyone who already does. But not only that, you get access to big old discounts on my courses. There's exclusive content over there as well. You can join the sewing group chat, and you might even get your name at the end of the video, like these here folks. just head on over to that URL right there or click the join button here on YouTube. And now we're at the very end of the video, like the end, the point where Uploading Corn has put a video here for you to watch next. My God, there's a lot of corns, isn't there? Whew, even I'm getting exhausted keeping up with all of them. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.